Bottom of Lake Michigan. Scientists discovered dozens of massive sinkholes about 14 miles off the coast of Sheboygan, about 450 feet below the surface.
Imagine peering into the deep, cold waters of Lake Michigan and finding dozens of perfect, round holes in the lakebed. What created them? Are they natural or something stranger? Today, we explore the footage, strange patterns, and baffling evidence that have scientists scratching their heads. Could this change what we know about the lake forever? But what lies beneath these eerie formations? Could the lake be hiding a force powerful enough to reshape everything? The discovery. Scientists were mapping the floor of Lake Michigan when they found something strange. Deep down, almost hidden under cold water and thick layers of mud, are many round holes, something that does not exist on the map. These holes looked organized, clean, and circular, and they were much larger than anyone expected. The discovery spread quickly among divers, researchers, and the media. People began to ask what could be happening under Lake Michigan. The story begins in 2022, when scientists scanned the lakebed about 14 miles southeast of Sheboygan, Wisconsin. The area falls inside the Wisconsin Shipwreck Coast National Marine Sanctuary, a protected zone known for old wrecks and rich history. While studying sonar charts, two experienced wreck hunters, Brendan Baylod and Dusty Cliffman, noticed holes that did not look natural. They contacted researchers who agreed they needed a closer look. In 2024, scientists returned with better gear. This time, they brought a remotely operated vehicle, or in simple terms, an ROV, which could dive deep and record. The ROV showed the first close-up views of the holes. Each one had a round shape. Some holes were tens of feet large. Some were grouped together, while others sat alone. A few had raised rims, almost like small craters, and some cut into older layers of sediment beneath the loose top layer. The layout looked like a scattered field of circular pits. Side-scan sonar gave clear outlines, and high-resolution maps confirmed the shapes. The depressions rested on a mix of soft lake sediments and harder rock in some places. Old charts and updated maps did not show anything like this before. That made the discovery even more surprising. Since the site is near known shipwrecks, researchers also checked how these holes could affect wreck preservation. Historians used maps to compare with the new images. State and local agencies kept track of the coordinates and marked each site for future study. The mapped area was wide enough to interest not only divers, but also geologists and ecologists. No matching cracks or breaks appeared on the lake ice or along the shoreline. That made it clear that the shapes came from something happening deep under the surface, not from a surface event. Public interest grew quickly when the media visited the area. Clips from the ROV leaked onto social media and spread like wildfire. The ROV footage showed loose rims, tiny animals moving across the bottom, and bits of shell around the edges. Nothing suggested a sudden collapse or a break in the lake surface. The tools used included mapping sonar, sediment samplers, and the ROV itself. Scientists organized public press briefings to shed light on the matter. Fishermen also shared about small changes in the sea floor they had noticed over time. Scientists logged every method, every dive, and every measurement. The findings raised many questions, which pushed them to keep going. They needed more proof, more samples, and more footage to understand the strange pattern on the lakebed. The ROV went back down for a deeper look, and this time, the video showed something new. Can you take a guess? But as the ROV descended deeper, it revealed shadows and shapes no one could immediately explain. What exactly was lurking there? The team. The project brought together different people: government scientists, sanctuary staff, museum experts, university researchers, and skilled divers all worked side by side. The NOAA Great Lakes Environmental Research Laboratory, GLERL, led much of the science. The Wisconsin Shipwreck Coast National Marine Sanctuary guided planning, safety, and access. Well-known experts such as Steve Ruberg and Russ Green talked about the findings and helped come up with the research plan. Kevin Cullen from the Wisconsin Maritime Museum gave advice about wrecks and the local history. Professor Boppy Bidanda from Grand Valley State University helped explain the water chemistry and microbes found in samples. The two divers who first noticed the shapes, Boylod and Cliffman, remained involved to share their knowledge of the lake floor. The team worked from a research vessel fitted with mapping tools and the ROV. Technicians operated the side-scan sonar, producing images of the strange pits. Once the maps were ready, the ROV team prepared for each dive. Live video from the ROV is fed straight to monitors on the ship. Scientists watched closely, taking notes as fresh information appeared on the screen. Scientists took sediment samples using simple tools like scoops and corers. These samples would later be tested for chemicals, grain size, microbes, and anything else that could give clues about how the holes formed. State agencies approved permits for the work since it took place inside a protected sanctuary. University students also helped with data logs and video tagging. Museum staff documented nearby wrecks to protect anything that could be damaged by future work. Media personnel from state offices helped prepare updates for the public. Social science groups studied how people reacted to online videos and local news stories. Safety stayed at the center of the project. Every dive required checks, logs, and detailed information about wind, waves, and gear settings. The ROV pilots were trained before the deep dives, while students learned how to log tether length, depth limits, and camera settings. Some diving happened at night when the lake was calmer. They also recorded how the waves and wind might affect sonar results. Outside labs offered support to test samples, while museums were prepared to archive the footage for future research. Funding details, grants, and permits were organized carefully to keep the project running long-term. This blend of local experience and federal resources made the research both safer and faster. Everyone involved shared one goal, which was to understand what lies beneath the surface of Lake Michigan. The deeper the ROV went, the more questions grew. However, during one dive, the ROV's lights revealed something moving inside one of the pits, something they had never seen. What could this strange movement mean? An unknown creature, shifting sediment, or something far stranger? Would anyone uncover the truth, the evidence? The ROV gave scientists their closest look at the strange round pits on the floor of Lake Michigan. When the small craft dropped into the cold water, its lights cut through the dark and showed the shapes clearly. The video showed wide circles with raised rims in many places. The rims looked loose, as if the material had been pushed up from inside the pit or pulled outward by slow movement. Some rims were smooth. Some had rough edges with grains of sand, small stones, and the shells of tiny lake animals. As the ROV moved across the bottom, scientists noticed that the sediment inside the pits looked different from the sediment between them. In many pits, the lower layer looked darker or more compact, as if the top layer had fallen through. Some pits had small lines that ran down their inner walls, like places where mud had slipped. In a few cases, when the ROV gently touched the edge, the loose materials slumped away, showing how soft the top layer was. Several animals were seen in the footage. Small fish swam around the rims. Tiny worms and other bottom-dwelling creatures crawled through the mud. Quagga mussels, an invasive species common in the Great Lakes, were stuck to many hard surfaces. Their shells added texture to the walls and rims. Scientists noted this because mussels can affect sediment movement by holding small grains in place or leaving other areas more open. Water probes attached to the ROV measured temperature, oxygen, and other basic water conditions. The readings showed normal values for that depth and season. There were no unusual spikes in temperature or chemical changes during the dives. The stable readings helped rule out sudden bursts of warm water or strong chemical plumes, that would suggest rapid underground activity. Sediment cores taken from the site added more detail. The cores showed layers of mud, silt and sand. Some cores had soft top layers only a few inches thick. Under the soft layer, many samples showed older, harder material. In a few cases, the pits appeared to cut into these older layers. The edges of those cuts looked sharp, not smoothed by long-term water flow. Sharp edges often mean the material has recently shifted or was disturbed by a specific process that does not affect surrounding areas in the same way. One major question was whether gas was escaping from below the lake floor. Sometimes gas bubbles rise from deeper layers, and this can loosen sediment or form pits. During the dives, scientists did not see large bubbles or streams of gas. That does not fully rule out slow gas seepage, but it shows there was no strong release during the time of the dives. Future sensors may show more, but for now, the video suggests that gas is not the main factor. The team also searched for signs of human activity. They checked for drill holes, metal pipes, or other buried structures. Nothing like that showed up in the footage. The clean, natural look of the pits suggested a geological or biological process rather than a man-made cause. The location inside a protected sanctuary also makes human activity less likely, because permits are required for most underwater work there. The ROV recorded each dive from start to end. Scientists compared footage from different days to see if anything had changed. The pits stayed the same shape throughout. That consistency matters. If waves or currents had shaped the pits, small details would shift over short periods. Instead, the pits appeared fixed. This points to slow processes happening under the surface rather than quick changes made by storms or surface weather. More evidence came from how the pits were spread out. Some pits sat alone, as some formed loose clusters. The spacing was irregular. This pattern is similar to features seen in other Great Lakes, such as parts of Lake Huron, where some pits formed from groundwater or the slow dissolving of rock. Lake Michigan pits also had differences, such as the size of the rims and the way some pits cut into older layers. These details made scientists cautious about choosing one explanation. The core samples will undergo more tests in the lab. Scientists will check for chemicals that show contact with groundwater. They will test for methane or other gases. They will study tiny microbes that can live off chemical energy instead of sunlight. Many of these tests take time. They need the results to rule out ideas and support others. For now, the evidence shows clear pits, sharp edges, old layers exposed, normal water chemistry, and no strong gas release. These clues narrow the field, but they do not answer the full mystery. But what if a hidden force beneath the lake shaped these pits? Could it be something entirely unexpected? Why? Scientists studying the pits on the floor of Lake Michigan have several ideas about what could have caused them. Each idea explains some part of the evidence, but not a single explanation covers everything. They must consider all the clues together: video, samples, maps, and known history to build a clear picture. The process takes time because many different natural forces can create round shapes in underwater areas. One major idea is connected to groundwater. In some areas, water moves through cracks in rock deep underground. If the rock is soft, such as limestone, the water can slowly dissolve it over many years. This can create empty pockets or small caves. On land, when the top layer falls into such a space, the result is a sinkhole. Underwater, the process can create similar pits. Some pits in Lake Huron formed this way, and scientists found special chemical markers in the water to prove it. If something similar is happening in Lake Michigan, there should be signs in the sediment. That is why scientists are testing samples for minerals that come from groundwater. If these chemicals appear, then groundwater flow becomes a strong option. Another idea relates to the glaciers that shaped the Great Lakes thousands of years ago. When the ice sheets melted, they left behind uneven ground made from mixed rocks, sand and clay. Over time, those layers can settle at different rates. If one layer settles more than another, the top layer can drop and form a round pit. The pits would take a long time to form and would not require strong chemical changes. The lakebed in this area does contain mixed materials from the last ice age. Some pits cutting into older layers fit this idea, though the sharp rims seen in the video do not always match slow settling. Even so, it remains possible that some pits formed this way. A third idea involves gas moving through the sediment. Gas pockets form deep underground when buried plants or animals break down slowly. Over time, gas can push upward and loosen the sediment above it. If the gas escapes slowly, the top layer may drop into the space, forming a small pit. The ROV did not show large bubbles or strong gas movement during the dives, but tiny seepage is still possible. Lab tests on sediment will check for methane and other gases to see if this idea fits any of the pits. Some scientists also consider chemical changes in buried materials. Old layers of organic matter can shift over time if conditions change. When buried materials shrink or break down, the top layer may drop. This process can leave small circular shapes. If this idea is correct, the sediment cores will show changes in organic content and color. Invasive quagga mussels may also play a part, though they are not likely the main cause. These mussels attach to hard surfaces and change the way sediment collects. Over many years, this can help change small dips or change how water flows along the bottom. While mussels alone cannot form large pits, they can affect the edges and make some rims look sharper. Another part of the study looks at currents. Strong currents can move light sediment and leave heavier pieces behind. However, the pits seen in the video have clean edges that do not match the smooth shapes that currents usually make. This makes strong currents less likely as the main cause. And these ideas, scientists must compare the size, depth, rim height, and spacing of the pits to known examples. They must also study the layers in the cores and chemical tests from the water. Remote sensing tools, such as sub-bottom profilers, can show how deep each pit cuts into the older layers. These images will help show whether the pits are connected to underground channels or if they stop in the soft surface material. These scientists also study old geologic maps to see where bedrock comes close to the lake floor. If a pit sits on top of soft rock that dissolves easily, that supports the groundwater idea. If the pit sits on mixed glacial material, that supports the settling theory. Future dives and new sensors will help track any changes over time. If the pits grow slowly or show new cracks, that will be a major clue. If they stay the same shape for years, that points to older processes that are no longer active. Right now, scientists say the evidence does not show any great danger. There is no sign of the lake splitting open or draining. Instead, the pits seem to be slow features shaped by natural processes deep under the lake. The work ahead will help decide which idea fits best. As the tests come back, one explanation may rise above the rest, but the results could also reveal something no one imagined. But what if the pits aren't just natural features? Could there be a hidden force shaping the lake beneath us? What happens when people hear that Lake Michigan might be breaking open? It can sound alarming. The idea suggests a sudden rupture at the surface, but scientists have found no evidence of this. The pits lie on the lake floor deep under the water. Seismic records from the United States Geological Survey show very low activity in the area. NOAA and other agencies have not issued warnings of any large or sudden rupture. Most changes are limited to the lakebed itself, not the water above. If a pit grows near a shipwreck or underwater structure, small shifts could cause the wreck to tilt or settle into softer sediment. Harbour managers may mark certain zones to keep boats away until scientists finish their surveys. Fishing and diving may be temporarily restricted to protect both people and the fragile lakebed. Slow sediment movement or gradual chemical changes in the groundwater can alter the bottom over years, but these processes do not cause the lake surface to crack open or drain suddenly. Some concerns focus on gases trapped beneath the sediment. Large releases of gas can produce bubbles, but divers saw no major bubbling during the RO surveys. Slow seepage is still possible, and lab testing of the sediment and water will show whether this is happening. Researchers plan to deploy sensors that will monitor water chemistry, temperature, and gas levels over time. This monitoring will help guide any safety notices or restrictions if necessary. For now, the most likely scenario is slow and gradual change. Scientists will continue mapping, collecting samples, and running lab tests. The work protects people, cultural sites, and the lake itself while answering the questions raised by these strange holes. The coming months and years will show whether the lakebed remains stable or continues to shift in unexpected ways. The monitoring continues, and the next updates may reveal wonders hidden deep beneath the lake floor. Thank you for watching today's video. What do you think about these holes down below Lake Michigan? Share your thoughts in the comments. Do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel.